Hello everyone, welcome to my introductory video on Github Actions. Through this video, I would like to explain what GitHub Action is, how do we utilize it in our pipeline, and how do we utilize it in our pipeline, and I'll just show you how it looks like. GitHub Action is actually a continuous integration and continuous delivery platform that helps build, test, and deploy your pipeline. Yeah, I just read through that whole grammatical sentence. When I first saw this definition, I was quite confused as to what does it really mean. So if I try to break it down, it actually means GitHub Actions helps you during your pipeline of development. Most organizations or most individuals have a pipeline in which they want to write their code, they push to a repository, and then possibly push deploy to a server. This is the pipeline. Most times in between those push, you might have to test your code, write automated tests to test your code. And once the test is successful, the build is successful, then you deploy your application to an application server. That is mostly the pipeline. GitHub Action will actually help you automate that pipeline so as not build, test, and deploy all manually. You build your application that you've written the code for. You then test it manually. Either you have to then write your test command to run your test scripts manually, and then you then build your code, get like possibly a disk folder or a build folder, and then deploy that folder to a server. GitHub Action is here to help you automate all that process. All it just needs for you to just define exactly the steps which it needs to help you achieve your process in your pipeline. Once you instruct GitHub Actions, exactly the steps in which you can take, it will help you accomplish that. That is the beauty of GitHub Actions. And GitHub Actions actually have 4 main components in which it uses to achieve this. The 4 of them are the workflow, the runners, events, and job. Well, let's take it one by one. Let's see what exactly this component actually does in the whole process. Let's take the workflow first. What is the workflow? Workflow is where you define all the steps that you want GitHub Actions to follow in order to achieve your goal. You define the jobs you want it to do. You define the scripts you want GitHub Actions to run. You define when you want these jobs or scripts to run. You define if you want to test it in different machines or different environments. The workflow contains all the specific commands or instructions that you want GitHub Actions to follow in order to help you deploy your pipeline. This definition is basically where we'll be working extensively in this our course, because basically what we're doing or what we're learning this course is basically how to instruct GitHub Actions to help you accomplish your goal in your development pipeline. Let's come down to the runners. When you write code, push our code to a remote repository. It might be GitHub, it might be Bitbucket, it might be GitLab. But like as the title suggests here, we are working with GitHub. So once you push your code to GitHub, this GitHub Action runs on GitHub. So GitHub has a farm of computers that helps you run all these jobs or all your instructions from their end. Those computers that helps you run all your instructions are actually called the runners. So once you instruct GitHub Actions to help you accomplish your goal, GitHub Actions how you get your instructions and then spin up a runner to help it to run those instructions in which you instructed it to actually do. That is where the runners come into play. Then let's go to events. So this event is basically at what point do you want GitHub Actions to actually run your instruction? Should it be once you push your code to GitHub, you want it to always run this your setup every single time you push your code? or do you want it to run when you create a pull request or when an issue is created? So this event is basically you telling GitHub Actions that this is when I want you to run this particular instructions or workflow. Last but not least, then we come to the job aspect. So when defining your instructions to GitHub Action, you can separate the instructions by jobs. What does that mean? Job is basically a list of instructions that you want to run on a particular runner. So like you remember when I told you that GitHub Actions have like runners, computers in which you use this to help you run your instruction. But each one runner actually run one job. So you can have like 5 jobs. And once you push that your code and GitHub Actions start running your instruction, each job will be sent to a particular runner to run. So these runners are being run concurrently. So let's assume here you have 5 jobs to be run. Each of those jobs have instruction in them that you want to be run. So you have 5 jobs, and then once you push your code to GitHub Actions and GitHub Actions start running your instructions, that's your 5 jobs. Each job will be sent to a particular runner, and then each of those runners will be run concurrently to basically run your whole instructions faster. Let's say in a scenario where you have a particular job that is dependent on another job. In that situation, it can't run concurrently because one job has to finish running before another job starts running. We can define that in our instruction also. So in that case, let's assume in this case, so we have 5 runners. Let's say 3 runners can run independently of each other. Or a particular runner actually depends on another runner. So once the workflow starts running, 4 runners will be run concurrently, while the one that is dependent on another runner will be wait till that job in which it is dependent on actually finishes running and then starts running. So you have 4 runners that run concurrently, and then once the job that is dependent on finish running, then the last job is then started and run by another runner. Let's see a visual representation of how all this fit into play. We have, let's say this is you here. You've written like a wonderful code. So what you have to do here is to also add your instruction, which is actually called your workflow, which contains all the instruction in which you want GitHub Actions to run in order to complete your pipeline or help you automate your pipeline. So once you've completed your code and then you've added your workflow, you can then push code to GitHub. Once you push your code to GitHub, GitHub then accepts your code and then listing for events that happens in GitHub. Let's say in your workflow, you define the runner to run on a pull request. Once you push your code, GitHub will accept the code, but nothing will happen until you then create a pull request on GitHub. Once you create a pull request, meaning this event will activate. Once this event activates, GitHub Action has now noted that, oh, I need to run this particular workflow that you've sent to him. Once the event happens, you then pick your workflow, sees the jobs that you have in your workflow, or your instructions, sees all the jobs that you have, then pick all the job. If you, let's say in this scenario, you have 3 jobs, then it picks one job, send it into this here. What we have here are runners. So in this case, you have 3 jobs. So it sends one job into one runner, send another job into one runner, then send another job into another runner. So these 3 runners will then run your job concurrently. And once if everything succeeds and everything is finalized, GitHub Action then signifies to you in your PR that this workflow was successful. If it fails, it will also signify to you that the workflow was a failure. Yes, I think this is like an overview of GitHub Actions. In my next video, I will show a brief example of how this whole workflow is, a practical example, and then we will see how each of these components actually play a role in the whole GitHub Actions life cycle. Thank you for listening to my introductory video on GitHub Actions. Please do like and subscribe. See you in my next video. Thank you.